Whale, whale, whale. I didn't expect Trike to be the next stream to pop up. I thought we'd see more of Harara or something like that, but instead we got Trike rigging, which I'm going to try to sound excited about, but oh my goodness, this was easily the dullest stream I've had to go through. Skimming through it even at ×4 speed and deleting most of the footage as you go because you can kind of drag to yeet footage in Vegas, but also watch it at the same time. Even that was incredibly boring. It was an absolute slog. I don't even have to give my thoughts at the end of this one. I'm gonna give them right at the start. This was absolutely boring. It was mind-numbingly boring. I had to cut a lot from this one, needless to say. This is sped up ×4, and a lot of it is just very, very minor alterations to things, or doing a bunch of stuff in the menus, which you'll also see here. There's likely stuff I missed, like huge chunks of stuff I missed, but I'm pretty sure you guys are the same in that you don't want to stare at the exact same thing for a large amount of time, and you'd rather get a nice, you know, TLDR sort of thing of what the stream contained. So that's what I've tried to do here. You'll get little bits and pieces of most of the stuff he did, but no way am I gonna make you guys sit through several minutes of watching slight tweaks, especially to the toes. It seems the toes are the most difficult points that need to be tweaked, because aside from the tail at the start, which did have a good amount, I just cut most of it. The toes were, the feet, the way they moved was definitely the biggest part he had to alter, which makes sense because it is a very delicate part, and it's gonna be doing a bulk of the movement overall. The way it has to, you know, twist, turn toes, and all that other stuff like that, compared to, say, the back or the leg itself. There's not a whole lot of movement going on there. But anyhow, yeah, it's incredibly important. Like, without the rig, you can't have animation. So I'm not saying, oh boy, this is worthless, why are we being shown this? No, it's not worthless. It's incredibly important. This is very literally the skeleton with which animation is created upon. Without this, it would not exist. It's just boring as heck to watch. It really is. I'm sure some of you guys who actually do animation will find this very interesting. Or at least his original stream. Mine's so cut up, I doubt you're going to be able to get too much from it if you're actually in animation. But for the rest of us who are generally speaking just want to see new dinosaur stuff, it's pretty boring. I can't really say that enough, and I'm going to try not to say it too much, because it's still a stream and I'm glad we get to see it. I'm not complaining that he streamed this of all things, how dare he. It's more, for me, it's definitely not my cup of tea. It's not something I'd want to sit down and watch for 4 hours, because I think this stream was roughly 4 hours long, and I could not imagine sitting there and watching it, much less actually having to do it. I'm sure for him time flies much faster, because he's actively having to, you know, think and do stuff, but for me, who just has to try to find interesting spots to put in a video, it was significantly less entertaining. But that's not on him, and that's not the stream's fault or anything. It's on me. I just don't find it entertaining. But anyhow, we get to see some more of Trike. Kissin did comment a little bit on Trike. I think it was yesterday, although by the time this is posted, it'll probably be the day before yesterday. Whatever, you guys probably saw the video on her. Trike isn't going to be worked on until, you know, Dibble's all completed. However, it sounds like Dibble's animations, the animations, not the mechanics, are basically done. Because when someone suggested during the which creature should I animate today thing, someone did suggest Dibble, and she said, he's already done. So it sounds like animation-wise, Dibble may be done. I imagine the sparring mechanic is probably going to be the most difficult part when it comes to that little dude. I'm interested to see what exactly it does and how much it does, because it sounds like they're trying to put a good amount into it. So I'm quite excited to see where that goes. And if any other creatures will get it, aside from the Ceratopsians, because yes, they already said Trike is going to get it, which is why Trike is going to be after Dibble. But still, it would be kind of nice if some other creatures would get it. I know people have asked that for Packy, and yes, the devs will say, well, technically you can parry a headbutt if you headbutt at the same time, but that's not quite the same as a sparring thing. And then other creatures would benefit greatly from it as well. I know people would like to see it on Rex, just about anything really, because, I mean, especially as babies, animals go through sparring and playing and stuff all the time, especially social ones. And with bigger ones, it's going to be a little bit more serious, of course, but it would still be nice to have some sort of intimidation sort of sparring thing, like, you know, how deer will lock antlers and whatnot like that. It's not exactly play at that point. They're usually pretty serious when they're doing it, at least for adults. But it would still be interesting. It'd be nice. Pretty cool to have other creatures be able to do something like that. I don't know if it'll happen. Probably not. But one could dream, because it would be pretty neat. Anyway, that aside, there was a little bit of heat paint, or weight painting, I guess I should say. I've heard it called heat mapping before this. It might vary from animator to animator what it's called. But I think he calls it weight paint. So we'll just go with that. It's weight painting. I can't remember the other creature we saw this put onto. It's been so long, honestly. I don't remember. But we've seen this one other time, maybe two other times. I don't quite fully recall. And I said then my vague knowledge of it, for those who don't know, and you shouldn't take my word for it, you should just Google it and find out. But from what I vaguely recall from another animation thing I've done long ago, this is regarding, you know, when each part moves, how much of the model will distort to match. Like when a leg moves or the head moves, how thick the movement of the model is in that spot, and it slowly tapers out to make it kind of look more natural. Like when you move your arm, your skin is going to move around, and other portions of your arm are going to move to match, and it, you know, it looks natural. Things are moving around. It's the same goes here. If it's not done right, we've all seen those animations where you see the dinosaur walking, and a portion of the leg just looks like it almost looks like a paper animation where it almost doesn't look attached to the body, like a plastic toy, how those joints move. If you don't do weight paint right, assuming, again, I'm getting it correct, that's what it'll look like. It'll look stiff and unnatural. The rest of the model doesn't move when the leg moves, and so it looks like a plastic toy, and parts will distort in ways that it definitely shouldn't be doing. But anyway, as far as I'm aware, that's what the weight paint is for, again, assuming I'm correct. And after that, he went right back to the feet for the next few hours, and then the stream ends, so I only did a little bit of that there. There was no animation part of this, but again, this is the skeleton with which the animations are born, so I'm not complaining. It was just boring for me to watch. However, it's incredibly important, and, you know, it's worth posting. This is the first we're going to be seeing of Trike, I imagine. And it sounds like, judging from the devs' comments in the past, the prior Trike rig was very, 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 very old, and it existed on something else before it was put on Trike? I don't quite recall. Kissin mentioned it. I think it was Kissin. Pretty sure it was Kissin mentioned it recently in one of the videos. You've probably seen it. Someone else will know much better than what I am. Everything starts to blur together after a while, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I saw that recently, but it could have been 3 weeks, and it just feels like it was yesterday. Who knows? But anyhow, the rig was old. They're updating it. It was well needed. I do wonder, I thought they would have been able to use dibbles for trikes, because dibble and trike overall are basically this, like, at their core, like, the core creature's shape, like with Utahraptor and Troodon and all those others. Deep within, they are basically the same. So I thought they'd be able to use dibbles, but I guess not. But whatever the case, I'm glad Trike is getting a touch-up because, yeah, he definitely needed it. I didn't really play him ever in Legacy, I don't think. A friend of mine did. But I don't think I ever played Trike, or if I did, it was like once and done. I think I touched Dibble or Trike, I don't remember which one, time. but I think that was also around the time my computer was having problems, and so I wasn't able to really enjoy it, and I didn't play him again after that. But I might give him a go again when he comes out. Well, who knows? We'll see. I'll see what kind of stuff he's got. Because, I mean, some animals just, they're not very interesting. Like Stego, to me, as cool as Stego looks, he's a classic dinosaur. A lot of people have him as a favorite. To me, I just don't really care. The way he plays, he's just so slow, and I don't really care for it. Like Anki, he's really cool. Or at least the original Anki was really cool. The new one I don't like, but that's not the point. But he's just so slow, I wouldn't really want to play with him. I have a... generally speaking in games, especially when it comes to exploration, I'm not a fan of slow things. I say that though when I played Rex, which was incredibly slow. So I guess it depends on how willing I am to sacrifice coolness for sluggishness. But usually I prefer faster things. Like Cerato was one. He's pretty darn fast. Not super duper fast. At least this is Legacy. I haven't played the new one yet. I had stomach issues, and then I had work stuff, and I haven't felt the desire to play just yet. But at least it's allowed them to hopefully get the server stuff sorted out. I haven't been looking lately. But anyway, back to the original topic. Dillo, Cerato, stuff like that. Fast, speedy things. Things that can help you look around the map a little bit more. I tend to like those a little bit better. And I found that in Monster Hunter as well. Yes, we're gonna go back to that. Weapon-wise, I tended to kinda want something faster, but then I ended up with Switch Axe, which is honestly pretty slow, but it looks cool. I saw it and I was like, oh man, that looks really cool. And then I found one that can make monsters go to sleep, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing, and it looks cool. Count me in. I love baggies. I love this axe. Everything about it is amazing. It's great. So I guess it comes down to coolness and speed, and it's like this graph of how cool it has to be for me to sacrifice speed, because otherwise I'll usually choose something that's relatively fast. But that's rambling on about unrelated matters, which tends to be how these videos go. Like I said, I like to have a little bit more of my stuff than their stuff, sort of thing. Whether or not it gets there, who knows? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but that's generally the goal. But anyhow, I hope you guys have been doing well and that the update has been fun. I've seen a fair amount of people enjoy it. When I skim, it's usually in the feedback section, and so if there's blaring errors, I'll tend to see those a little bit more. I've seen a lot of mentions of fatal errors, which I kind of experienced even before I got to the chance to play, which I need to make a video of because honestly that was kind of amusing. Stuff of that nature. I've heard mentions of Carno's stam, although whether or not it's actually a problem I couldn't tell you. Because, I mean, people are gonna complain about any changes to any creature, whether it's good or bad. So I don't play Carno, I couldn't say if it's a good or a bad change. It very well may be warranted, there has been a lot of people talking about it, but I can't guarantee for sure because I don't play Carno, so I can't tell you. I'm sure Carno mains will have much more to say on that, and they'll know the nitty-gritties of why this change was good or bad. But that's not me. As far as Cerato goes, I hear mixed feelings about it. The chuff being automatic, that sounds incredibly annoying. I'm not sure who decided that was a great idea. I haven't even played it yet, and I can already see so many ways in which that's going to go wrong. And I understand why the way its buffs around bodies, which apparently was implemented. I understand why they made it so if the body's moved, it won't add those buffs. That way something doesn't just drag a body around and get buffs all the time. However, it also means in the middle of battle you're gonna get something stop for a split second in order to touch the body, so all those buffs go bye-bye. I don't know how many instances of this actually happening there are, but people have mentioned it a lot, so I assume it's relatively common. I guess at least it wouldn't happen with herbivores, but if you're fighting, say, a Carno, it would be super easy for him to just tap the body for a second and get it moved enough that, hey, you don't have buffs anymore, goodbye. And overall, I'm not sure how strong Cerato is compared to the others. I heard some during the start say that Cerato could be face tanked by a Carno. I don't know if that's still the case or not anymore, because that was early on and they've adjusted it since then, but I'm sure you guys know and you'll be able to share that plenty down below. But that's just what I heard. I haven't personally played it yet, I already mentioned why, but I hope to really soon, I really do. It might sound like I'm dragging my feet, but it's more I haven't... when you have stomach problems, you see, sometimes you have to leave very suddenly, and that's not a good idea when you have a game where you actively have to constantly be in combat, or well, not always in combat, but like if you are in combat, you can't exactly just pause and go somewhere else for a little bit. No, you have to either die and sacrifice whatever you've been working on raising, or you have to try to get away long enough to log out. Like if you idle in a bush, you very well may be caught. I've personally found at least 1 or 2 people back when I used to play a little bit more often who were just sitting in the bush idling. And I did that too, but I'd tap out and I'd always keep my ear on things because you never know when someone's gonna find the luckiest thing ever and come across an idling T-Rex and you just bite it to death, it dies, and then you get the biggest meal ever. Or just, you know, troll the T-Rex, I guess. But anyway, you can't exactly do that when you're not feeling well. With other games, like, we've been playing 7 Days to Die a little bit again, I can just excuse myself, hide in a corner, and if I die, I die. There's not a huge penalty for it. Like, there's an experience penalty, but that's not too bad. With Monster Hunter, I've been starting with Rise, and I'm gonna go to World after. Rise is incredibly easy compared to World. Rise is like Monster Hunter Lite, from what I understand, and I can feel it when I play it. It's definitely very easy compared to what I hear about Monster Hunter normally. I can just get away from the monster and pause the game because it's single player, or if my if my friend is with me, she's stronger than I am. Granted, we're about the same level now. But she can handle herself while I leave, or she can go do something else while I leave. It doesn't really matter. Like, it's not like the IO where you are going to die, probably, if you suddenly have to leave your computer. And if you're in a fight, you'd better either finish it or perish. But then you have to grow your guy all over again. In the other games, if you die, it's not quite as bad. If I had to just Sudoku myself, it would be fine in Monster Hunter. It cost me a cart. And if I fail the quest, it's not a big deal. You just do it again later. You might have sunk like 30 some odd minutes, but it's nothing compared to in the Isle where you grew something very, very carefully. You have to manage the diet. You have to get that to that age without perishing as a baby, etc., etc. You guys know how it is. So it's a little bit more of a game you have to focus on, and you have to be able to be there. You have to babysit it. Whereas with other games, you can kinda excuse yourself depending on what's going on. Or the penalty for dying isn't quite as big, and I'll just take the hit and be back in a little bit. I'm feeling better now, though, so I hope I can play it soon. Like, I really do. I want to try Troodon. He looks really cute. I hear that his pounce has got some issues, but he's so tiny and cute, and I want to try him out. Maybe I'll find a group of Troodons, and maybe I'll actually join a squad or something. Who knows? He's one that has to be played in a group, so I imagine I would have to. I'll see how it goes when I finally get around to playing him. Cerato is probably going to, and not even because of my bias, but because it seems to be more intended as a solo experience, especially considering you chuff at your own teammates. Like, come on, bro. But, yeah, it sounds like Cerato's more of a solo experience, so that one, it won't matter as much that I don't have friends playing as well. But anyhows, yeah, I've rambled on enough. I hope to play it soon. It's just, I've had incredibly bad luck. It's been busy, and I haven't been feeling well. But hopefully I'll be fine soon. I feel mostly better, for the most part, so I might just risk it and go. Troodon looks pretty small, so I imagine his growth time isn't too bad. So maybe I'll just go, okay, if I have to go, I have to go. I'll just sacrifice my little Troodon for the greater good. Someone gets a free food, and I don't feel like I've wasted too much time. Because Cerato, I don't know how long he takes. But if I recall, wasn't Carno close to 2 hours or so? Because Utah, I think I remember being over an hour. So I imagine Carno was like 2 to 3. I imagine Cerato's somewhere around. Okay, so my computer went all funky while I was recording the prior one. It cut out suddenly, but I think it caught most of it, so it's fine. Anyway, I think Cerato's around there. I need to wrap this up, I guess. My computer's starting to whine at me itself that I'm going on too long, but okay. Anyway, I think Cerato's around that time, so I'd rather waste, what is it, gonna be 30 minutes to an hour on Troodon versus possibly 3 on Cerato. Not a big deal. It's kind of like a monster hunt at that point. Assuming Troodon is a very short time, which I'd imagine it is. I haven't heard, I haven't seen anything, so anyway, you guys will know. I'll find out. But anyways, thank you guys as always for watching. Have a great day, night, whatever time this is posted or you see it. Have a great 4th of July for those who are in the US. Enjoy your explosions, and goodbye!
Thank you.